Welcome everybody to a Salty Chillers Entertainment podcast. Hero Darkness is here.
It's so logic.
Which numbers?
Valentine.
And Red Renegade.
And today we are doing something on a different note. We are going to go through and discuss a popular game that one of us has enjoyed playing and kind of go through the history of the game. And the history of this game is Monster Hunter, and the latest title is Monster Hunter World. Now we got a couple people in here who has played other previous Monster Hunter titles, and Valentine, once she has picked up the title, has been a huge fan of Monster Hunter World.
It took over my life.
She's not lying there.
I played like solidly for months. It was the only game that I played because I enjoyed it so much.
I also know when you first were thinking about getting it, you were very skeptical about getting it too.
Yeah, I was, and then like it's kind of funny when I see and hear you guys like have so much fun with the game, especially with like friends that like I have. I'm like, okay, I cave. Eventually I cave under the pressure.
And it became, like you said, one of your most favorite games to play.
Absolutely. It was like the story was amazing, and then like the gameplay was really smooth, and the armor was beautiful, and the weapons were, more and more powerful as you went along. And it was a fun game to play in a group because it's so focused on a team effort. They put out monsters specifically for teams so that, you have to cooperate and you have to work together.
But yet, you can still fight the monsters solo if you that type of play. They cater to both player bases.
Absolutely.
Both solo and both group. No, I think it's interesting. I think this Monster Hunter game is a lot easier to follow the story than other Monster Hunter games. Is that correct, Renegade?
Yes, I remember some of the stories, they were kind of convoluted in a way.
I picked up and played Monster Hunter Freedom Unite before I played this game years back. I knew I had a story for it. I mean, I had no clue what the story was.
That was basically me whenever I picked up 3 Ultimate. I just knew, like, oh hey, I'm in this village. These people are having this problem. And I don't know much after that. I'm just like, oh, okay, hunt the monsters, got it. Let's do this.
So with me, it seems like it went from a game where you just went to just help monsters to here's a nice little story to go along while you're killing said monsters, instead of this monster was harassing this villager because she was out picking flowers and they threw poop at her. That was legitimately the quest line. That was legitimately the entire reason why I was hunting monster threw poop at
Yeah, they probably know which monster that was.
Rip.
So you had these random quests, like the description, that was the entire reason why you're doing the quest. So it didn't always add up while you were doing said quests, you just knew you had to do them. You had to complete some of the quests, then get to the next tier rank, star rank. So like I said, the story hasn't always been done Monster Hunter games. So hearing Val how she likes the story, it's like the first Monster Hunter game alpha that actually has a story that's easy to follow.
Yeah, it's real easy to, like, I will say right now, I have never played any of the other Monster Hunter games previously. So this was my first game coming into it, and I still was able to come into it and follow the story and beat it and, have as much fun as the person who, like Damien, who's played so many Monster Hunters before, but like that was like the basis of our friendship, you know? Like I think it was one night we were like, oh, we're at a party together and we're left alone because everybody signed off. You want to play Monster Hunter? Sure. And like, that was the
Probably exact
beginning.
response.
Exactly.
All it was.
And that was when Hunter Siblings was born.
You know, I think I feel as if multiplayer in this game is felt a lot easier to do than multiplayer in other Monster Hunter games. Is that right, Renegade?
Uh, yes, because how multiplayer worked in other games. Basically, you'd be put in these. Well, you could create your own lobbies, or you could go into other people's lobbies. There was no like squads or anything that kind of made getting your friends together easier. And like y'all could just like join one lobby that's already created. Like beforehand, you would just go to the gathering hall, make sure you're online, then you would invite all your friends.
Oh, wow.
That's
Yeah.
generally you try to create a private session.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can create your own private session with your excluded friends.
Yes, but I guess the good thing about that was you could also do local play where you didn't have to have internet connection, but you would also have to be like right beside the person.
Yeah, I think I ended up
Which-
doing that once.
That's basically how me and my brother played. We would both get Monster Hunters and we'd just do local player with each other.
Makes things easier.
Yeah.
Now, looking back, I'm trying to think, because I know the Switch Axe, the charge blade hasn't always been there. Did they
No,
replace-
those were introduced in 4 Ultimate. The
Mm.
Charge Blade was introduced in 4 Ultimate and the Insect Glaive.
Were they just added, or did they replace a previous existing weapon? I don't remember that.
They were added.
They were just added, they didn't replace a said weapon.
No, they didn't. I know in past Monster Hunters games there's been other weapons. Like I know, gosh, which one it was, but they had a weapon called the Tonfas. Which kind of was like dual blades, except it was more pulverizing. I forget which game that was, but I know they had that as a weapon in a game. And it just varies from game to game.
I guess since we're talking about the weapons and the different weapons, I know you have in Monster Hunter Worlds you have the Sword and Shield and dual blades. You have the hammer and hunting horn. You have the longsword and great axe. The charge blade and switch axe.
Mm-hmm.
Insect glaive has its own little thing. What else am I missing? And then the bows and the bow guns. And they all have their own different damage types, which I find quite interesting. How you can, if you have a hammer or blunt weapon, aiming for the head is your primary objective. It really is.
Well,
'cause
that's
then
where
you
the
can knock 'em
horns
out.
are.
Yeah, your hammer, your horns, hunting horn.
Well,
Aim for the
it's a
head.
lot easier to break the horns and break the face with a blunt weapon than it is with more of a sever type.
This
Which is why tails and things like that are typically aimed from with long swords and things like that.
Just slashing weapons, which I think
Yeah, as a-
they can also knock the enemy out, which helps into a DPS phase.
Yeah, as a experienced dual blade user, it's really hard for me to knock the horns off by myself. I'm more successful with the tail, which is why I focus on that, because it's easier to chop off a tail than it is to break the horns for me.
And I love how each weapon has their own little role that they can do.
Yeah,
And as long as the user knows that role, if they join a group session, it makes things easy. But you don't have a duplicate right up front trying to deal damage to the horns when the hammer's trying to start doing his special to break the horns and actually deal massive damage.
Absolutely. The most successful quests I've ever gone through, we've had like me on dual blades and then somebody else on insect glaive and then somebody else on like a heavier item like a hunting horn or a great sword and then somebody on a bow. Like if you have like that kind of
That's
team,
basically the meta.
yep, you're gonna like really like you're gonna take that monster down real fast.
One thing I do like about the Monster Hunter series is that you have the different trees, and thus each, if you want to play the game one way, like I shall put on this armor set saving against this element using, but then I'll bring out this weapon due to it being weak against this element. You can then start catering to the monsters you're hunting.
Yeah, absolutely. Armor sets were like something that I don't have a whole lot of experience in, but Monster Hunter was a really good game to start honing those skills because you learn about elements and which elements are going to be stronger or weaker against said monster and you know what's going to be a better buff and what's going to uh, attribute to your weapons more, you know.
And you can always, unless you can go do different sets accordingly, which I think, I know the armor sets and that has always been a thing in Monster Hunter games, but I wonder, so Renegade, how has they changed over the different games? How
Well,
has the armor set sort of changed, like the buffs and that you could get through armor?
they have added more buffs. I've noticed that from like each
Have they added
Monster
more
Hunter
like
game.
debuffs
But
for say? 'Cause I know in one game you with the set armor type you'll get hungry faster. That's your. I always it was always
that's a
eating
thing they
more
kind of
of
took
one
out, but it actually was a thing.
because I've never that in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. I had armor that would make me hungry, but I had to stop and eat more food often.
Well, that's because in those games, how armor skills worked were it'd be a point system. If you like, say my helmet has like 3 points in attack up, but normally I would have to get it up to like 5 points in attack up to get the first tier of that skill. And since I could go up, there could also be armor pieces that would have like negative attack up, which in that case would lower my attack if I got to like -5 and those points. But in Monster Hunter's world, they kind of revamped how armor skills work in this, into where you only get positives. Like it doesn't do like a 5-point system. It's gives you 1 point and you have the first tier of that skill.
See, I didn't recognize that. You learn
But
something new every day.
That's what also shows you how it has changed throughout the different games. They brought it up with this game. They brought it in to hopefully expand the audience for the next Monster Hunter Worlds they bring in. Make this one more user friendly to get them read customs to the game, and then they could bring in the different. You have this armor set on where you're gonna get hungry more often, you lose your stamina faster, that's gonna eat more.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Then when Monster Hunter Unite, I can put armor sets on to give me more health.
Yeah, the health
These are my
regen on the
health
Valhazak is.
Well, it wasn't just health weekend. I could put an armor set on that would actually increase my max health close to max.
Right.
Thus, I can always come in and fight with max health instead of having to drink the potions for that. So it's interesting to see how that has changed.
Has that changed from previous games? Like, did you not have the options to like put set decorations on and buff your health or
Oh no, that was always a thing. It's
Oh, okay.
kind of It's a little different from other Monster Hunter games how you got said decorations.
Uh-huh.
Uh, in previous Monster Hunter games, it was a lot easier to get decorations. In this, it's
Oh.
a lot more difficult. Like I remember,
More
it used to be
grindy.
really easy to just get like an attack up set, and
Right.
in this game, it's like getting attack up jewel is just like 1 in a million.
Right. Right? Or like a hero streamstone for the actual like weapon
Weapon
you
that you
have.
want.
Yeah. Like I
First
always
of
get
all,
yours and you always get mine.
first of all, you have to get one, and then you just have to hope and pray it's for one that you actually need and or want.
I know. I have like 5 for the axe and I'm like I don't even use that. Like
So what you're saying
it's
is I
so
need to pray
frustrating.
to the RNGesus?
Right.
What is that?
Well, I mean, there would be praying art and Jesus in previous ones as well. Like whenever you wanted to get a gem from a certain monster, but the game wouldn't let you have the gem, and I'm not pissed about this at all.
There
Oh
you are.
no,
Right?
it's not showing whatsoever.
Exactly. Thank you for reconfirming that.
So here, with you walking into this Monster Hunter World with Val aspect, what are your thoughts on the Monster Hunter World game and what you have
Yeah.
now learned from previous games? What are your thoughts?
Well, I can say it is very new gamer friendly. It's nice not having to worry about the previous titles. I will say
Yeah.
this though, maybe I wasn't paying attention during the tutorials. They are a little misleading on their damage types, where the damage types almost look like the same as the weapon types or the same symbols as the weapons that you can use without
Right, like
clarifying.
hammer would be the icon for
Blunt.
like blunt damage.
Yeah.
And you know, that just may be knowledge that was necessary or just doing a little extra looking into, but on first glance it seems like, oh, I need to be using this axe, or no, I need to be using a sword, but I like my insect glaive. Well, nope, you need it.
Right.
But not knowing that it's supposed to represent cut or blunt, it seems kind of misleading at times with things. And sometimes when I go on with randos, very rarely do I see another insect glaive user, because mostly everyone's on the ground, either with dual blade or the axe.
Right.
I met one guy earlier who was using the hammer, the song, giving everybody buffs of that.
Hunting
I love that. Every time I see a hunter's horn in the party, I'm like, oh yes, they're going to give tons of buffs. Like,
if the no
Hunting horn wasn't actually that widely used in
it's still
previous
not the
titles.
most widely used weapons. It last time I checked the stat, it's still the lowest used weapon.
And that may be just
it's
new
what?
in it's the least used weapon out of all the weapons in Monster Hunter.
Well, it's kind of heavy.
Well,
So is the
one,
greatsword,
the
but I
heavy,
mean,
and two, not many people would. Uh, this is just from my own personal experience, but not too many people would be like playing like online, like from a far distance, and no one wanted to be that person that just wanted to be a support.
And that's what comes down to. It comes down to the learning curve of the weapon, of being able to still attack and still play your melodies that you need to play to buff your team. That's where the learning curve comes in. Unless you can play this offensive, you can play just so straight support, or you can learn how to be more like a combat medic.
That's something interesting. In all, it's like, yes, you can be a solo player, and most of the time that's what they are. They're the solo player, so they don't think team comp or anything. That's why you don't see the horn used, because that's a team comp weapon, and everybody's like, no, let's just get in, hit it fast until it dies, instead of let's give you the earplugs, let's give you the hill, let's give you this, so you can survive, so you can live longer. No, we just want to hit it as fast as we can until it dies, without taking into consideration the team comp. Because yeah, instant glaive may not be everybody's favorite, but everybody loves it when the glaive user can drop down the monster and get a good solid damage phase in.
Right.
And that probably where my issue comes in at with things is the fact that it's mostly a bunch of single players coming in hunting versus putting together team comp. Even when we run together as a group, we don't even think team comp. We're just like, we're gonna do our own thing.
I should bring in my switch axe. You're bringing in some glaive, and then we get the duelist coming in and whatever renegade brings in. The charge blade.
Yeah.
We have a tank.
So what good's that gonna do?
That's one thing this game doesn't have very well is aggro.
What aggro?
You have to get,
It just does what it wants. Like it's a monster. It's gonna attack what it wants when it wants. It feels like.
I think that's the point, though. Like, you can't really expect an animal to have a pattern like that. You know, like, it kind of might get all over the place, especially when it's like heart rate starts going up. I've noticed that aggro is pulled out easier. I don't know if that's a real thing or not, but to me it seems so. Like, it starts to panic. I think that was on purpose.
It goes into like a frenzy. Oh God, this may be it kind of state.
And
Yeah.
It's like, oh, these guys may actually kill me.
Like, think of Lunestra. She does
Do I
that.
have to?
Oh, hush. She does that. Like, right before she's about to go, about like a couple moves before, she'll do the fire floor. And then, like, everybody is, like, disabled. And then she, like, roars. And then she's out of there. You know?
Well, it's kind of like with what Kieran does. I've noticed, like, pretty much when you get to the last state, it becomes a lot more sporadic on its stuff. Tends to do more attacks that hit the hardest out of other ones, if you're
Right.
lucky anyway.
You know, we're talking about the heart rate and all that, so that is actually new to Monster Hunter Worlds. Previous Monster Hunter games didn't have that. You had no way to know where it was at until it started limping away.
Exactly.
You can tell him that yes, it's getting mad and it's getting enraged, but you had no idea. You had nothing to base off.
You don't know how many times I've had that mission to where you have to capture the monster, and then you accidentally kill it because you're too good.
It's too overpowered.
I mean, for me, it wasn't too good. It was more like I didn't understand the whole capture part. So, like, I killed it, and then it was like, you failed. And I was like, what? And so I tried it again. And of course, like, I'm oblivious. So it was like, you failed again. And I was like, "Ah, okay, like, what am I doing wrong?"
How do
And then
I
I
fail at
noticed it
killing
said
something?
capture. Right? Like, I was so mad. I was like, that's wrong. Like, I killed that monster. And then it was like, capture. I was like, oh, that's dumb. And then I
Why
wanted to
would I actually want to
capture.
capture it?
Well, then I wanted to, like,
Murder is
the more I
obviously
got
the
into
answer.
it,
Yeah,
the
it
more I
is.
got into it, the more I wanted to capture, and the less I wanted to kill. Like, because I really like the creatures, as dumb as that sounds.
No, that's not dumb.
I'm trying to think, you know. I know if there's anything else is there to add to this.
Well, one thing that's far different from previous Monster Hunter games to this one is scout flies. Those were never actually a thing before. Beforehand, we would have... Yeah, we would have paintballs, which basically you had to locate the monster, throw a paintball on it, and it would mark it for a certain amount of time.
But you had to
Huh.
open up the map and say the monster is here. And then you had to actually find your own
But
way
eventually it
back.
would wear off.
And you guys are also missing another factor. Your hunts are without loading screens. You can go from one area of the map to the other area without even once touching a loading screen. Prior
Right.
games,
True.
you had the loading
Yeah.
screen. We just have the single loading screen. Now, granted, this is in a time where the
Open world games
open
are
world
becoming
games
the
are
main.
easier, and not to mention the technology has advanced where it is easier. I remember playing Star Wars Battlefront Elite Squadron, and the cool thing was the fact that you can go space to ground without any load screen.
You just have that small
We
little
had a
cutscene.
cutscene, so technically that was the load screen, but I didn't have to stop mid combat in the load screen and ruin the flow of the game. And so this Monster Hunter has allowed us gamers to easily transition from one section of the map to the other section of the map without touching the load screen, and it doesn't ruin the immersion of the game. It doesn't take away from you playing. It doesn't ruin the moment of the hunt, so to speak. And even when you get carted out, you don't have that load. It's quick. There it is. Let's keep going. And everything's just going without any issues.
And that makes hunts with me a lot easier to do, because then I'll have to jump into one area for 5 seconds just to start another load screen. Which drove a 15-minute hunt to like an hour. You'd have to reload each area over and over and over again.
Which that can be tedious.
Too tedious. You have any thoughts on this, Salt?
That pretty much wraps it up without over repeating things.
What about you, Val? Have any more
I don't
questions
know.
for us since you played the game?
Well, I have tons of questions for you. Like, this is the only Monster Hunter game I've played, so, like, I want to know, like, what all the like, are there any monsters that are new, or are they just recycled? Like, are all of them
Basil is
recycled?
new.
Basil is new?
Basil's new. Radobon's new.
Maybe?
Snowball's new.
Really?
Yeah, Snowball's new.
Aw. I didn't know that. For people who
Yeah,
don't know,
so is,
Snowball is like Otogaron, and he's
Yeah.
like flesh puppy basically in the Rotten Vale. He's my pet,
But-
and I think he's adorable.
There are also like very iconic monsters that obviously have to be in the game, like Rathian and Rathalos.
Oh yeah,
Like they've been in every Monster Hunter game that I played.
yeah. I'm so excited for the crossover because of that. Like the Rathalos being in Final Fantasy 14. Like,
Then we get to Bahamut to fight.
yeah,
No,
Yeah.
I was actually talking to a friend. He said if the Bahamut is like it is in some of the previous Final Fantasy games, it will have a counter. It will have counters to it.
what do you mean counter?
I want to say I think I know what he's talking about playing 13, but off the top of my head, I can't entirely think of what exactly he means. We'll honestly have to sit there and find out. So
Yeah,
apparently he's played more of the Final Fantasy games than I have. I don't even
Right.
know what he's talking about exactly.
right.
But if it does have a counter of some sort based on what you do, that can actually be a little terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of wonder, like, are there any weapons that are new in this game? Like, or are they all
No.
repeat weapons?
They're all repeat.
Okay.
Until you get
That's
to the Elder Dragons that's been new introduced and stuff like that. But most of the time it comes down to just the way it looks. The damage and the elements is simply the same. Do you have anything else you want to add for this Renegade?
No, I think we've covered a basic majority of it.
Well, I have nothing else to say also, so I think that practically covers the Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter sort of games in general, and how Monster Hunter World is a little,
How it has evolved.
how it has evolved throughout the years.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in and listening. This has been a Salty Chillers Entertainment podcast. This is Hero Darkness.
Salt Logic.
Which numbers?
Valentine.
And Red Renegade.
And as always, guys, stay salty.
God for the ones that we shelter.